quite breezy as we head toward tomorrow morning. A breezy and mild day tomorrow. Plenty of clouds in the area, and they're going to stay with us throughout the day tomorrow into tomorrow night, as we'll see not much shower activity going on until late Friday. Getting windy and warmer Friday. Temperatures, I think, get well above the lower 70s, more than likely in the mid to upper 70s. But here we go. Showers and storms busting out late Friday afternoon into Friday evening. This is the latest RPM model run moving through southwest Louisiana at about 4 a.m. and reaching Lafayette around 7 a.m. And we're going to see a pretty healthy, strong to severe thunderstorm dynamics, especially as we get into central Louisiana on northeastward. We'll talk more about that in the main weathercast. So tonight, not as cool there early. Temperatures lower 50s your low. Temperatures gradually rising after midnight, up to about 57 by daybreak tomorrow. And then tomorrow, mostly cloudy, milder overall. It'll be getting breezy, 73 the high, and rain chances staying low in the 10% range. Coming up, a pretty nasty severe weather threat developing as we head late Friday night, early Saturday morning. We'll try to delineate the times and give you the best outlook we have coming up in just a little bit.
The Lafayette Parish School Board is moving forward with advertising for a new superintendent.
Irma Trosclair has been the interim superintendent and has been in that role since May of last year. The previous board deferred the hiring process until the new board was sworn in, which happened at tonight's meeting. 3's on the Street tonight. Chris Welty live at the Lafayette Parish School Board with more. Chris.
At tonight's board meeting, board members took care of some housekeeping. They set timelines on when candidates can begin applying and when they set timelines for advertising for a new Lafayette Parish school superintendent and when candidates can apply.
One of the first orders of business for the new board, finding a new superintendent. Board member Justin Santeni says it's an important process to go through to hire the right person.
I think you're looking for somebody who's a very strong academic leader, someone who's a very strong organizational leader, somebody who has a strong background in finance, and that's a lot to ask for.
Donald Aguilard, one of the newest members of the board, brings more than 40 years of education experience, including time as Lafayette superintendent.
I respect the wishes of the board. I want to be able to guide whenever it's appropriate. Also want them to form their own opinion because this is an important issue for Lafayette and we need to choose wisely.
Aguilard says he'll use his experience to look for key items in candidates.
You look for evidence that the person can collaborate and has the wherewithal to think logically and really to be able to look downstream and try to anticipate what are the next challenges and opportunities.
Timmy Chassaw says he respects the process, but is hopeful interim superintendent Irma Trosclair gets the job.
She's been busting butt to make sure that we're on the right track and the schools are rolling. You've got to be able to see the unique qualities that'll give us a chance to become the A school district we're destined to be.
It's the kind of thing that competition makes everybody better, and so we'll open this up and we'll see what applications we get and we'll go from there.
And the job officially opens on January 12th, and applications must be postmarked by February 28th. From there, the board will then start reviewing resumes. 3's on the Street live in Lafayette. Chris Welty, KATC TV3.
In Lake Charles, an arrest in a shooting death. Michael Thomas of Lake Charles now facing a attempted second-degree murder charge after a shooting on Tulip Street last night. Officers found a male and female who had both been shot. The man, Timothy Napoleon, died. In Calcasieu Parish, the Third Circuit Court of Appeal heard arguments today in the case involving the Bayou Bridge pipeline that began operating last month. The judge ruled in May that the pipeline trespassed on private property, but ruled construction was legal. Landowners believe the law is unconstitutional.
In Acadia Parish, the city of Crowley's policy to install culverts on public right-of-ways was brought into question at tonight's council meeting. The city has installed culverts for years, but some council members are worried about the city being reimbursed.
The cities have to be reimbursed for the labor for installing culverts on private property or public right-of-ways.
In New Iberia, the city is beginning the process of tearing down abandoned homes. There are at least 13 properties that they're working to take down right now. It's unclear, though, how long that process will take. In state news, the state's top education official is stepping down. John White's resignation will be effective March 11th. In the coming days, Bessie will discuss the process and time frame for selecting a replacement. White has been the state superintendent of education since 2012.
We turn now to Iran's retaliation for the U.S. drone strike that killed one of the country's top generals. President Trump addressing the nation after Iran fired more than a dozen ballistic missiles, targeting at least 2 U.S. military facilities in Iraq.
Iranian TV calling the strikes a revenge operation, and Iran's supreme leader saying it was just a slap in the face to the U.S. Here's ABC's Rachel Scott.
Just hours after a counterattack by Iran, President Trump insisted the regime is backing off.
Iran appears to be standing down, which is a good thing for all parties concerned and a very good thing for the world.
The president, who just days before warned the U.S. would strike fast and hard in response to a retaliatory attack, made no mention of a military response in his address to the nation, instead announcing tougher sanctions on the country.
The fact that we have this great military and equipment, however, does not mean we have to use it.
Iran taking revenge for the death of its top commander, Qasem Soleimani, firing roughly 24 missiles at 2 military bases in Iraq where American troops were stationed. New images capturing the chaos. The president defending his order, saying Soleimani was planning new attacks on American targets, but the White House has not released any evidence he presented an imminent threat. Behind closed doors, the president's national security team gave a classified briefing to Congress, Democrats leaving unsatisfied.
As the questions began to get tough, they walked out.
And then there was this criticism coming from a member of the president's own party.
It's probably the worst briefing I've seen, at least on a military issue, in the 9 years I've served in the United States Senate. One of the messages we received from the briefers was, do not debate, do not discuss the issue of the appropriateness of further military intervention against Iran. And that if you do, you'll be emboldening Iran.
And in the aftermath, the House is now scheduled to vote on a resolution to limit President Trump's actions against Iran. Democrats are continuing to slam the president for not notifying Congress before he decided to move forward with military action. Rachel Scott, ABC News, Washington.
Coming up, a box of bananas, not what it seems. News from around the world coming your way at 10:21.
But before that, Rob's forecast for where you live. Some big storms heading to Acadiana. The timeline coming up. You're watching Acadiana's News Channel at 10 o'clock.
EC Weather Lab. Here's Rob's forecast.
Welcome back. Well, another beautiful day across Acadiana. Temperatures topping out in the mid-60s after a frosty morning start. The chilly nights, though, going away tonight. Lower to mid-50s are going to be your lows and moving into the 70s over the next couple of days. But another cold front coming in this weekend, but that front is going to spark off more than likely a round of strong to severe storms. Late Friday night, early Saturday morning. We'll get down the time frame in just a bit. In fact, that storm system burgeoning in the Pacific Northwest is going to dig down and move all the way down to Mexico and then move eastward and hook up with the subtropical jet stream. So another couple of days, but in between, as high pressure shuttles off to the east, we're seeing a return of east to southeast winds and some clouds hanging just offshore. They're going to be moving inland during the course of the overnight hours, and that's why our lows will probably drop just several degrees more and then bottom out and then maybe rise as we get closer to daybreak tomorrow as clouds begin to come in. It's going to be a mild and breezy one. We're using the RPM model because the timing works out on showing when those storms come in. May not be the best model, but it gives you a really good idea. Mostly cloudy skies tomorrow. Temperatures lower 70s for a high, mid-60s tomorrow evening. Maybe an isolated shower, but rain chance staying no higher than 10%. And we'll go maybe 10 or 20%, no more than that on Friday, even though the model not showing much. It's going to be a windy and warm one. Temperatures get into the mid-70s. Then we'll be watching these storms off to the north and west as we head into Friday evening and Friday night. Strong to severe storms. I think we're going to see tornado watches from Houston on southward all the way up through the Arklatex into Arkansas with this system by Friday evening. Here we are at midnight. A squall line moves on through southwest Louisiana at 4 a.m. and we'll have to look out for the storms, those discrete cells that run out ahead of these main squall lines. That could produce a couple of storms that might produce produce isolated tornadoes, and that squall will continue to move on through, pushing through Lafayette right around 7 a.m. And out ahead of this, even before the storms come in, we're going to have sustained southerly winds. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. 30 miles an hour, gusts maybe to 40, and then you get these storms rolling on through. It won't be very hard to get wind gusts in the 70 or 80 mile an hour range in some of these storms on top of that tornado threat. And as quickly as it moves in and moves out, don't cancel any Saturday plans. Even though I got 90% for Saturday, we'll probably see sunshine by the middle part of the day as we go into Saturday afternoon. Now, the severe weather risk from 6 a.m. Friday to 6 a.m. Saturday per the Storm Prediction Center puts an enhanced risk into western and central Louisiana. That's for storms that could produce damaging winds in excess of 70 miles an hour. This is the type of storm system that may produce 90 or 100 mile an hour winds, just straight line or downburst winds, and then isolated strong tornadoes. And strong tornadoes, I'm talking EF2 or greater. So we're going to have to watch that. Then that severe weather threat shifts off to the east as we head deeper into Saturday. So here we go. What happens when we have this wind shear? Wind shear is winds increasing with height. So we look at the surface winds going, this is Saturday at 4 a.m. They're out of the south at 24. Then you just go 5,000 feet up. They're in the high 70s and they're turning as well. That's veering when the winds turn clockwise with height, and then you get into the upper levels. You see more of a southwesterly wind, and then you get to 34,000 feet, almost more westerly wind. So that's veering with height, and that's what produced those damaging winds. So are we going to have flooding rain? No. Wind damage is the main threat, and that's going to be sometime Friday evening, ending early Saturday morning. The same with an enhanced potential for some strong tornadoes, especially northern portions of Acadiana. We'll hone that forecast down and look at some of the model guidance for tomorrow. And rainfall, not much, 1 to 3, but look at this. We add the rain that we're going to see next week, and it's going to be soaking wet around here as we go through next week. It's looking awfully wet after this weekend. In the near term, clouds moving in, temperatures topping out in the lower 70s for tomorrow. Rain chances staying low, 30% may be high Friday afternoon, but Friday night near 100%. That ends early Saturday. As I said, Saturday afternoon will be dry, and that severe weather threat could be substantial. Heading down, upper 30s to lower 40s for Sunday morning, but that's going to be a temporary cool down as we'll see plenty of 70s next week, and also pretty good rain chances in the 50, 60, 70% range for a good part of next week.
All right, thanks, Rob. And still ahead tonight on KATC, days away from the national championship, LSU is back on the field for practice. Andrew Clay has sports at 10:28.
But first, facing charges in Japan, a former executive at Nissan went rogue, and now he's explaining why. The news from around the world right after this. News now from around the world in 80 seconds. Portuguese police discovering a large stash of cocaine concealed in a shipment of bananas from Latin America, the latest haul weighing in at 18 pounds with a street value of more than $33 million. Over the past year, authorities in the U.S., China, and Germany have found large quantities of cocaine concealed in banana shipments from South America. Crews combing the wreckage today after a Ukrainian passenger jet carrying 176 people crashed overnight just minutes after taking off from the Iranian capital's main airport, turning farmland on the outskirts of Tehran into fields of flaming debris and killing all on board. Nissan's fugitive ex-boss, Carlos Ghosn, is speaking for the first time about his arrest and escape from Japan. He says the ordeal was a plot against him. He says he didn't escape because he's guilty. He escaped, rather, because he had zero chance of a fair trial. In Puerto Rico, seismologists say there's no way of knowing when the series of quakes will ease up, prompting Puerto Ricans to stay with friends or family or even sleep outdoors far from the coast, fearful of collapsing buildings or even a tsunami. In Connecticut, a man charged with murdering his missing wife in the midst of a contentious divorce and custody battle in court today. His girlfriend and former attorney are also charged in the case with conspiracy to commit murder. And there's lots of excitement for Disney and Star Wars fans getting ready to happen. The new Star Wars ride opened at Disneyland in just 10 days. The countdown now on. And that's Look at News from around the world in 80 seconds for this Wednesday, January 8th. Southern University is known for across the world as the Human Jukebox Marching Band, and now fans of the band can show their support with a license plate. The Louisiana Office of Motor Vehicles now has plates featuring the band's logo. The plates are available online at expresslane.org or your local DMV.
Happening tomorrow to celebrate their beloved spokesperson, Coach O. Raising Cane's will be giving away his favorite menu item, coleslaw. All Raising Cane's restaurants in the state will be giving away free coleslaw just as long as you mention the promotion while you order. Also, every Cane's restaurant will close at 7:30 on Monday so their crews can watch the national championship game. Meanwhile, for LSU students, class will be in session on Monday. A petition circulating online is asking the president of the university to push back the start of the semester to allow students to cheer on the team. The petition can be found at change.org.
And still ahead right here on KATC, the national championship game 5 days away. We'll take a look at how the teams are preparing next in sports.
It's time for sports with KATC Sports Director Andrew Clay.
Game week for LSU, who will play in the national championship in just 5 days. Ed Ogeron called today, Monday, as the Tigers reset their week to reflect their normal week of preparation for a football game. Terrace Marshall and Damian Lewis returned to practice. Both were injured in the Peach Bowl win over Oklahoma. O said expects both to be ready for Monday night's game against Clemson. Good news for the Bayou Bengals. LSU may be a favorite to beat Clemson, but that's easier said than done. The Uptown Tigers' last loss came in the Sugar Bowl 2 years ago to Alabama, and last year Clemson was a 6-point underdog to the Tide when they clobbered them 44-16. Coach O praising Clemson's coach Dabo Swinney for what he's accomplished.
You watch their guys, they're fundamentally sound in technique. They're in the right spots on defense. They play hard. They got the right players on offense. They got a great quarterback. They got great play caller on offensive scheme. It's a big challenge. There's 29-0, man. You don't get to 29-0 without doing a lot of things right, and he's done it.